I fell asleep sick. My mother-in-law whispered, "Don't move." Then I saw the scissors and my husband's secret key. At first, I thought I was dreaming. The living room was dark. Then I felt a tug at the back of my head. Not a gentle tug. A sharp one. I opened my eyes halfway, confused and groggy, and heard my mother-in-law whisper, "Don't move." My whole body froze. I turned my head and saw Joan Morris standing behind the couch with scissors in her hand. For 1 second, I could not understand what I was seeing. My brain refused to accept it. Then I looked down and saw dark strands of hair on my shirt. More on the couch. More on the floor. My braid was in her hand. I sat up so fast the blanket fell off me. "What did you do?" I asked. My voice barely came out. Joan looked annoyed, not ashamed. She was wearing her beige cardigan, the one she always wore when she wanted to look harmless. Her mouth was tight, like I had interrupted her while she was doing me a favor. She said, "Don't be dramatic, Laura." I fixed it. I reached behind my head. My fingers touched uneven, chopped hair. One side still brushed my shoulder. The other side ended near my jaw. The back felt jagged and thin, like someone had hacked at it in anger. I screamed. Joan flinched, but she still did not apologize. She put the scissors on the coffee table and said, "You are moving. That's why it's uneven." Like it was my fault. I stood up, dizzy and shaking. "Get out of my house." She rolled her eyes. "It's Kenneth's house too." That sentence hit me harder than the haircut. Kenneth is my husband. We had been married almost 5 years. Joan had always been controlling, but in a quiet way that made me sound petty whenever I tried to explain it. She never screamed. She never openly called me names. She smiled, corrected, suggested, rearranged, and then acted hurt when I pushed back. If I moved a vase, she would move it back and say, "I just know what looks best in this room." If I cooked, she would add salt when I turned around and say, "Kenneth likes flavor." If I wore lipstick, she would say, "That shade is very bold for a married woman." That was always her favorite kind of insult. Married woman. As if becoming a wife meant I was supposed to shrink. I work as a designer at Riverline Design Studio, so I care about how things look. I like clothes. I like makeup sometimes. And I loved my hair. It was long, dark, and reached the middle of my back. After a rough year of stress, weight gain, and losing my confidence, my hair was one thing that still made me feel like myself. Joan hated that. She made little comments for years. Long hair makes women look like they're still shopping around. You'd look more settled with something shorter. Kenneth always liked practical women. One night at dinner, in front of Kenneth's brother Anthony and his Aunt Catherine, Joan laughed and said, "Laura's hair is so pretty, people might forget she's married." Everyone went quiet. Kenneth gave a nervous laugh and said, "Mom, come on." Later, when we were in the car, I asked him why he never really shut her down. He sighed and said, "She's old-fashioned." She doesn't mean it like that. That became his answer for everything. She's old-fashioned. She means well. She just has a strong personality. She doesn't know how it sounds. But Joan knew exactly how she sounded. She was a retired school secretary, not a confused old woman who didn't understand the world. She used social media. She sent passive-aggressive family posts. She knew what boundaries were because she demanded everyone respect hers. She just did not respect mine. A few weeks before the haircut, Joan started pushing harder. She sent me photos of short hairstyles. She told me I would look cleaner with a shoulder-length cut. She told Kenneth I needed a wife haircut before we had children. Kenneth and I had been talking about starting a family. Not trying yet, but close enough that we had booked an initial fertility consultation because my cycles were irregular and I wanted to be prepared. That made everything worse because I thought we were entering a more serious stage of marriage. I thought we were becoming a team. Instead, I found out I was living with a man who still handed his mother access to my life. That Saturday, I was sick. Nothing dramatic, just a bad cold and body aches. Joan came over around lunch with soup. I thought maybe she was trying to be kind. She was not. She walked in and immediately looked me up and down. "You look exhausted," she said. "I am exhausted," I said. "That's why I'm resting." She glanced at my braid. "You'd feel lighter if you cut all that off." I ignored her and took the soup to the kitchen. She stayed for almost an hour, commenting on the laundry, the dishes, the pillows, and the fact that I was lying down during the day. "You can't sleep like a teenager when you become a mother," she said. I told her we were not parents yet. She smiled. "That's why I'm trying to help you prepare." When she finally left, I locked the door behind her. At least, I thought I did. Kenneth had a work dinner that evening with people from Crescent Architecture Group. He asked if I wanted him to stay home, but I told him to go because I was just going to sleep anyway. Before he left, he kissed my forehead and said, "Text me if you need anything." I remember that clearly now, because later I did need something. I needed him to be my husband. He was not. After he left, I took cold medicine, showered, braided my hair, and fell asleep on the couch with the television on. Then I woke up to Joan cutting my hair. After I told her to leave, she did not rush. She picked up her purse, smoothed her cardigan, and looked around the living room like she was checking whether she forgot anything. "You'll thank me after the salon fixes it," she said. "Right now it looks rough because you woke up too soon." I almost threw up. "Get out." She opened the door and left like she had every right to be there. I locked it behind her with shaking hands. Then I stood in the middle of the living room, staring at the hair on the floor. I could not move. It was not just hair. It was proof that I had been asleep in my own home and someone had stood over me with scissors. Someone had touched me, changed me, decided my body was hers to correct. I called Kenneth. He answered on the third ring. There was noise behind him, clinking glasses and people talking. "What's wrong?" he asked. I could barely speak. "Your mother cut my hair." "What?" "Your mother cut my hair while I was sleeping." There was a pause. I sent him a photo. My hands were shaking so badly the first picture was blurry. The second one showed enough. The chopped hair. The scissors on the table. My face, pale and swollen from crying. He called back. At first, he sounded shocked. "Oh my God." Then he got quiet. Then he gave this nervous little laugh that made something inside me go cold. "Okay," he said. "It looks bad right now, but it's fixable." I stared at the phone. "Are you serious?" "I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying it's hair, Laura." I looked down at the braid on the floor. "Just hair." I asked, "How did she get in?" He hesitated. "Maybe she still had a key." That made no sense. We had changed the locks the year before after my purse was stolen. I was the one who had the spare keys made. One went to my sister, Hannah, because she watched our dog when we traveled. One stayed in the kitchen drawer. Joan should not have had one. So I asked again. "How did she get in, Kenneth?" He went quiet. That silence told me before he did. Finally, he said, "I gave her a spare. A few months ago." I sat down because my legs felt weak. "You gave your mother a key to our house and didn't tell me?" She was hurt that Hannah had one. "Hannah watches our dog." She said she felt excluded. "Excluded from what?" "Our marriage." He said, "Don't make this bigger than it is." I laughed, but it came out like a sob. That was when I hung up. Kenneth came home almost an hour later and found me sitting on the bathroom floor. I had put the chopped hair into a grocery bag. I know that sounds strange, but I could not throw it away. It felt like throwing away evidence. It felt like pretending it had not happened. He stood in the doorway and stared at me. "Laura," he said softly. I did not answer. He stepped closer. "Let me see." I pulled away. "Don't touch me." His face changed. Not into guilt. Into frustration. "I didn't do this," he said. "You gave her the key. I didn't know she was going to cut your hair. But you knew she had been obsessed with it." He rubbed his face. "I knew she made comments. That's different. She stood over me while I was sleeping." "I know, and she crossed a line." "No, Kenneth. She didn't cross a line. She walked into our house with the key you secretly gave her, took scissors, and cut my hair off while I was unconscious." He looked away. Then he said the sentence that made me realize how alone I was. "Please don't call the police." I had not said anything about police. Not once. But he had already thought of it. Which meant he knew this was serious. He knew it was not normal. He knew it was not just a bad haircut. He just did not want his mother to face consequences. I asked him, "Why would you say that?" He said, "Because if you escalate this, it could ruin her life." I stared at him. "My life was not even safe in my own house tonight, and you're worried about her reputation?" He said, "You're acting like someone died." I said, "Something did." He looked confused. I said, "My trust in you." He tried to apologize then, but it sounded like panic, not understanding. He said he was sorry he gave her the key without telling me. He said he was sorry she went too far. He said he would talk to her. Went too far. Like she had made a rude joke at dinner. Like she had borrowed a sweater without asking. Like she had not stood behind me while I slept and cut off a part of me because she thought I looked too independent. I slept in the guest room that night with a chair pushed against the door. I did not sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt that tug again. I heard her whispering, "Don't move." I saw the scissors catching the blue light from the television. The next morning, Joan texted me. It was not an apology. It was a photo of a salon in Kenner with the message, "They can even it out." My treat. "Let's stop this silly tension before it embarrasses the whole family." I read it 3 times. Silly tension. I showed Kenneth. He sighed and said, "That's her way of trying." I said, "Trying what?" "To make it right." I held up my phone. "Where is the apology?" He said, "You know how she is." And I realized that was the problem. Everyone knew how Joan was. They had built their entire family around surviving her moods, avoiding her guilt trips, and pretending her control was love. I was the only one who had not agreed to live like that. I packed a bag. Kenneth followed me around the bedroom while I put clothes into a duffel. "Where are you going?" "To Hannah's." "Laura, come on." "No. You're leaving over this?" I stopped and looked at him. "Say it clearly." "What?" "Say what this is." He opened his mouth, then closed it. I said, "Your mother cut my hair while I was sleeping after you secretly gave her a key." His jaw tightened. I said, "That is what I'm leaving over." He said nothing. When I walked out, he did not stop me. That hurt more than I expected. I think part of me wanted him to suddenly understand, to stand in front of the door and say he was sorry, that he would change the locks himself, that his mother would never step inside our house again unless I invited her. But he just stood there. Like I was the one making things difficult. Hannah lives in Metairie, in a small apartment above a bakery. She is a librarian, and she kept the last name Roberts after her divorce because she said changing paperwork twice in one lifetime was enough punishment. When she opened the door and saw me, her face dropped. "Oh my God," she whispered. That was when I finally broke. I had cried the night before, but this was different. This was the kind of crying that comes from your ribs. Hannah pulled me inside, locked the door behind me, and let me sob into her shoulder while I kept saying, "She cut it. She cut it while I was asleep." Hannah did not say it was just hair. She did not say it would grow back. She said, "That is not okay." Those 4 words made me cry harder because I had needed someone to say them without hesitation. That afternoon, Kenneth's family started texting. His brother Anthony messaged first. Anthony is a mechanic and usually avoids drama unless Joan sends him into it. His message said, "Mom is a wreck. She knows she messed up. Don't make this worse." I did not answer. Then Catherine Adams, Joan's married sister, sent me a long message about forgiveness, family, and how older women sometimes show love in ways younger women misunderstand. Catherine is a banker, so every message from her sounds like a formal notice with guilt attached. She wrote, "Your mother-in-law acted from concern, not malice. Please consider how public conflict will affect everyone." Everyone. Not me. Everyone. Then Joan posted on Facebook. She did not name me, but she did not have to. She wrote, "One of the hardest things about being a mother is watching your love be rejected because someone values vanity over family." Vanity. I sat on Hannah's couch, reading it with my hacked hair sticking out in uneven pieces around my face, and I felt something inside me shift. At first, I had been scared. Humiliated. Sick. Now I was angry. Not loud angry. Not screaming angry. The calm kind. The kind that makes your hands stop shaking. Hannah sat beside me and said, "Do not let them make this about a haircut." I whispered, "But it is a haircut." "No," she said. "It's a key. It's your home. It's your body. It's your husband choosing comfort over your safety." I looked at her. She said, "Hair grows back. Trust doesn't always." That night, I booked an appointment with Rose Morgan, a hairstylist in New Orleans who had fixed my hair once before after a bad color job. I sent her photos and asked if she could help. She replied within 10 minutes. "Come tomorrow morning. I'll make space." Then she added, "Laura, who did this to you?" I stared at that question for a long time. Because the honest answer was not simple. Joan's hands cut my hair. But Kenneth's key opened the door. The next morning, Hannah drove me to Rose Morgan's salon because I was too embarrassed to go alone. I wore a hoodie even though New Orleans was already warm and humid, and I kept the hood pulled up like I could hide what happened from the whole world. Rose met us at the door before the salon officially opened. She did not gasp. She did not make a face. She just looked at me with the kind of quiet seriousness that made me feel human again. "Come sit down," she said. I sat in the chair and stared at myself in the mirror. That was the first time I really saw it. The night before, I had only touched the damage. I had only seen pieces. But under the salon lights, there was no pretending. One side of my hair was hacked shorter than the other. The back had choppy gaps. The braid Joan cut off was gone, and what remained looked like something done in anger. Rose gently lifted a section near the crown of my head. "This was not an accident," she said. I swallowed hard. Hannah crossed her arms behind me. "That's what I said." Rose looked at me in the mirror. "Who did this?" "My mother-in-law." Rose froze for half a second. "With your permission?" I shook my head. While I was sleeping, her face changed. She put the comb down and stepped back like she needed a second. Then she said, "I can fix the shape. I can make it look intentional. But I need you to understand something. What happened to you is not a bad haircut. Someone violated you." I started crying again. Not because of the hair exactly. Because she said it so clearly. Rose worked slowly. She told me what she was doing before she did it. She asked before touching certain sections. She let me breathe when I got overwhelmed. By the time she finished, my hair was a short, clean bob just below my jaw. It looked good. Different, but good. That almost made it worse. Because I knew what people would say. They would say, "See? It looks nice." They would say, "Maybe Joan did you a favor." They would say, "You're lucky it turned out cute." But I was not lucky. I had just been rescued from something ugly enough to be made pretty. Hannah paid before I could stop her. Outside the salon, I checked my phone and saw 9 missed calls from Kenneth. I called him back from Hannah's car. He answered immediately. "Where are you?" Leaving the salon. Can I see you? Why? Because I need to talk to you. I looked at Hannah. She shook her head. I said, say it over the phone. He sighed. My mom is really upset. I closed my eyes. Not, how are you? Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry I failed you. My mom is really upset. I said, that is not my problem. She feels terrible. She should. She said she didn't mean to scare you. She whispered, don't move, while holding scissors behind my head. There was silence. Then Kenneth said, she said she was trying to keep you from jerking and getting hurt. I laughed. I could not help it. It sounded mean, but I did not care. She was trying to keep me from getting hurt while she was cutting my hair without my consent? I'm not defending it. Yes, you are. I'm trying to understand both sides. That sentence made my stomach go cold. Both sides. One side was me sleeping in my own house. The other side was his mother cutting my hair because she decided I looked too single for a married woman. I said, there are not two sides to this. He said, there are always two sides. I hung up. That afternoon, I went back to my house with Hannah. I did not tell Kenneth first. I wanted clothes, my laptop, and my documents from the filing cabinet. I also wanted the spare key from the kitchen drawer. When we arrived, Kenneth's truck was gone. The house felt wrong when I stepped inside. It smelled like my shampoo, cold coffee, and Joan's soup still sitting in the fridge. The couch was clean because Kenneth had vacuumed up the hair, but I could still see it in my mind. The scissors were gone from the coffee table. That bothered me. I checked the drawer where we kept household things. Batteries. Tape. Take-out menus. The spare key was not there. I opened every drawer in the kitchen. Nothing. Hannah watched me. What are you looking for? The extra key. Maybe Kenneth moved it. I felt my chest tighten. I called him. He answered on the second ring. Are you at the house? Yes. Where's the spare key? What spare key? Do not do that. The one from the kitchen drawer. He exhaled. I gave it to Mom months ago. That's the one she had. I leaned against the counter. So there had not been an extra missing key. There had been one shared behind my back. Kenneth had given away our backup and never replaced it. He had left me believing I knew who had access to my home when I did not. I said, you lied to me for months. I didn't lie. I just didn't mention it. That is lying. I knew you'd react badly. I stared at the sink, at a coffee mug with lipstick on the rim from the morning before everything happened. You knew I would say no, I said. He did not answer. That was the answer. I hung up and called a locksmith. Kenneth called me 4 times while Hannah and I waited. I ignored him. When the locksmith arrived, I paid with my own card and had both exterior locks changed. I also had him check the windows because suddenly I did not trust anything. While he worked, Kenneth came home. He looked at the locksmith's van, then at me. What are you doing? I stood on the porch with my arms crossed. Changing the locks. His face hardened. You can't just lock my mother out completely. I stared at him. My mother. I said. Not strangers. Not safety. Not us. Your first thought is your mother. He rubbed his forehead. You know what I mean. No, I don't. This is my house too. And it is my house too. Your mother does not live here. She needs access in case of emergencies. She was the emergency. He looked at Hannah like he wanted her to disappear. Can we talk privately? Hannah said, I'll stand right here. Kenneth snapped, this is between me and my wife. Hannah said, then act like her husband. That shut him up. When the locksmith finished, he handed me the new keys. I gave one to Hannah and put the others in my bag. Kenneth watched. You're giving her one? Yes. Hannah watches the dog and doesn't cut my hair while I sleep. His face flushed. That was unnecessary. So was the haircut. I walked inside to get my things. Kenneth followed me into the bedroom. Laura, please stop. You're turning this into a war. I opened the closet and pulled out work clothes. Your mother started this when she came into my house with your secret key and touched me while I was unconscious. He sat on the bed. I said I was sorry. You said you were sorry I was upset. That's not fair. No. What's not fair is that I have to explain why waking up to scissors behind my head scared me. He looked down at his hands. For the first time, he seemed ashamed. But then he said, I just don't think we should destroy our future over this. Our future. That was when I remembered the fertility consultation. It was scheduled for the following Thursday. A baby. We had been talking about baby names, nursery colors, whether we could afford daycare, whether we would want my sister to help. And now I was standing in our bedroom, newly chopped hair brushing my jaw, realizing I almost brought a child into this family dynamic. I said, I'm canceling the consultation. His head snapped up. What? I'm canceling it. Laura, no. I am not trying for a baby right now. His voice cracked. You're punishing me. I'm protecting myself. You're taking away our future because of hair. I stopped packing and turned around. Say that again. He looked confused. I said, say it again. Say I'm taking away our future because of hair. He did not. Because even he heard it then. This was not about hair. It was about whether he could protect me from his mother. It was about whether he understood that marriage meant our home was not a place where his mother got a vote. It was about whether he would still minimize me if we had a baby and Joan decided she knew better about feeding, sleeping, discipline, names, schools, everything. If she could cut my hair while I slept, what would she do when she thought she knew better with our child? I took my bag and left again. That night, Joan finally texted me directly. I'm sorry you feel violated. I honestly believed I was helping you present yourself better as Kenneth's wife. I never meant for this to become so ugly. I read it once. Then I printed it from Hannah's small printer and put it in a folder with screenshots of her salon text, her Facebook post, and the messages from Kenneth's family. Hannah saw me doing it and nodded. Good, she said. I did not know what I was going to do with it yet. Maybe nothing. Maybe it was just for me. Proof that I was not making it up. Proof that Joan did not misunderstand. Proof that she still believed my appearance existed for her son. The next few days were quiet in a way that felt almost worse. Kenneth moved into the guest room at our house. I stayed with Hannah. We texted only about bills and the dog. He asked twice if I would come home. I said not until we talked with a marriage counselor. At first, he refused. He said counseling would make this official. I said, it is official to me. Then Gregory Morris, Kenneth's cousin, called me. Gregory is a driver and not someone who usually gets involved. He said he heard what happened and wanted to check on me. I was guarded at first, but then he said, Joan has always been like this. I went quiet. He continued, when Kenneth's dad was alive, he used to smooth everything over. After he passed, everybody just learned to give Joan what she wanted. It was easier. I asked, did she ever do something like this before? Not hair, he said. But she has crossed lines. A lot. People just call it love because that makes it easier to swallow. That sentence stayed with me. People just call it love because that makes it easier to swallow. A week after the haircut, Kenneth agreed to meet at Bayou Corner Cafe. I chose a public place because I did not want to be alone with him in the house yet. He looked tired when he walked in. His shirt was wrinkled and he had not shaved. For a second, I felt bad for him. Then I remembered that I was the one wearing the haircut his mother forced on me. He sat across from me. Your hair looks nice, he said softly. I looked at him. He winced. Sorry. That was stupid. Yes. He nodded and stared at his coffee. I talked to my mom, he said. And? She still thinks she was helping. I almost got up. He quickly added, but I told her that doesn't matter. I told her she is not allowed in our house without your permission. I waited. He swallowed. And I told her I was wrong to give her the key. That was the first sentence that sounded real. I said, why did you? He stared out the window. Because it was easier, he said. She kept saying Hannah having a key made her feel like an outsider. She said I was letting your family replace mine. I didn't want another fight, so I gave it to her and told myself it didn't matter. But it did matter. I know. You knew I would say no. He looked at me. Yes. The honesty hurt, but it was better than excuses. I said, that is the part one can't get past. He nodded slowly. I chose keeping her calm over being honest with you, he said. And then when she did something awful, I tried to keep her safe from consequences instead of keeping you safe from her. I did not cry. I thought I would, but I did not. Maybe I had already cried enough. He said, I'm sorry, Laura. Not because you're upset. Not because this got messy. I'm sorry because I betrayed you. For the first time since it happened, I believed he understood at least part of it. But understanding did not magically repair anything. I told him I had conditions if we were going to try. Marriage counseling. No private visits with Joan. No key for Joan. No discussing our marriage with his family. No fertility appointment until I felt safe again. And if Joan wanted a relationship with me, she needed to apologize without defending herself. Kenneth nodded at each one. Then I said, and I need you to understand something. If we ever have a child, your mother will not be alone with that child until I trust her. And right now, I don't know if that day will come. His face tightened, but he did not argue. He just said, okay. That was not a victory exactly. It did not feel like winning. It felt like standing in the wreckage and finally seeing which beams were still holding. 2 days later, Joan sent another text. This one was shorter. I am sorry I cut your hair without permission. I was wrong. I should never have entered your home or touched you while you were sleeping. I stared at it for a long time. It was the apology I had asked for. But it still did not make me feel better. Because sometimes the right words arrive after the damage has already taught you something. I did not forgive her. I did not answer right away. I saved the message. Kenneth started counseling with me the following week. I moved back home, but I kept Hannah's key and made it clear the locks were staying changed. Kenneth slept in the guest room for another month. Not as punishment, but because I needed space inside the house that was supposed to be mine too. Joan did not come over. She complained to family, I'm sure. Anthony stopped texting me after Kenneth told him to stay out of it. Catherine sent one more message about healing, and I blocked her. The strangest part is that my hair does look good now. Rose shaped it beautifully. People at work complimented it. My friend Diane Hill, who is a dentist and usually too practical for drama, took one look at me and said, "You look like someone who survived something." I laughed when she said it. Then I cried in my car after lunch. Because that was exactly how I felt. Not pretty. Not ruined. Not fixed. Changed. A few months have passed now. My hair has started to grow. So has my anger, but in a different direction. It is not burning through me every day anymore. It has become something quieter. A boundary. A warning bell. A promise to myself. Kenneth is trying. I want to be honest about that. He is not magically perfect, and I am not magically healed. Some days I still look at him and remember the way he said, "It's hair, Laura," and I feel my chest close up. But he goes to counseling. He corrects his family now. He has not pressured me to see Joan. He canceled a family dinner when she tried to invite herself to our house, just to talk. He told her no before I even had to say anything. That mattered. It did not erase what happened, but it mattered. As for Joan, I have seen her once since then, at a small family lunch in a restaurant, not in my home. She looked at my hair and said, "It's growing nicely." Kenneth immediately said, "Mom." She looked down and said nothing else. That tiny moment should not have felt powerful, but it did. Not because she was embarrassed. Not because I wanted to humiliate her. But because for once, someone stopped her before I had to defend myself. I still have the grocery bag with my cut hair. I know that sounds strange. I keep it sealed inside a box in the closet with the printed texts. I do not look at it often. I do not need to. I just need to know it exists, because for a while, everyone tried to shrink what happened into something small. A haircut. A mistake. An old woman's love. A family misunderstanding. But I know what it was. It was the night I learned that love without boundaries can look exactly like control. It was the night I learned that a locked door does not protect you if someone you trust gives away the key. It was the night I stopped confusing peace with safety. I do not know yet if my marriage will survive. Maybe that sounds strange after saying Kenneth is trying, but trying is not the same as repaired. I still love him. I also still do not fully trust him. Both things are true, and living with both is exhausting. We have not rescheduled the fertility consultation. Kenneth asked once if I thought we ever would. I told him maybe. But not until I know our child would have a father who protects our home before protecting his mother's feelings. He cried. I did too. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I wanted to hurt him. But because I finally said the truth without making it softer for him. That is my quiet victory. Not divorce papers. Not a dramatic confrontation. Not screaming at Joan in front of everyone, even though I imagined it more than once. My victory is waking up in my own house again and knowing Joan does not have a key. My victory is hearing Kenneth say no to her. My victory is looking in the mirror, touching hair that barely reaches my jaw, and not seeing the woman who is helpless on the couch. I see someone who woke up. So now I'm asking honestly, because some people still think I went too far. Was I wrong for changing the locks, canceling our fertility plans, and refusing to forgive my mother-in-law just because she cut my hair while I was sleeping?